Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm excited to do my first book review for the month of March. We're going to be talking about A Lullaby of Witches by Hester Fox. If you haven't seen my most recent Unplugged unboxing video, this was the book in my Unplugged box. Every now and then Unplugged does send some more spooky, darker toned books, and I always eventually come around to reading them. I usually get pretty slow with my Unplugged boxes, but this is the first time I think that I've ever had a book in my Unplugged box and was like, oh my god, I need to read this immediately. This sounds so good, and then picked it up and just devoured it. So before I get into that review though, I just want to remind everybody that I still have my giveaway for Waif by Samantha Kolesnik going on. This is a brand new signed copy. If you were interested in winning this book, please check out my Instagram at Prynne with all of the details about that giveaway on my Instagram. All right, so let's chat about A Lullaby for Witches. So I don't know anything about Hester Fox. I had never heard of her before. She seems to have a decent sized bibliography that seems to focus more on like kind of dark, haunted, gothic, witchy kind of stories. This one included. I'm gonna read the back of the book really quickly so you guys get a bit of an idea of what this story is about. Once there was a young woman from a well-to-do New England family who never quite fit in with the drawing rooms and parlors of her kin. Called instead to the tangled woods and wild cliffs surrounding her family's estate, Margaret Harlowe grew both stranger and more beautiful as she cultivated her uncanny power. Soon whispers of witch dogged her footsteps, and Margaret's power began to wind itself with the tendrils of something darker. 150 years later, Augusta Potos takes her dream job at Harlowe House, the historic home of a wealthy New England family that has been turned into a small museum in Tinmouth, Massachusetts. When Augusta stumbles across an oblique reference to a daughter of the Harlowes who has nearly been expunged from the historical record, the mystery is too intriguing to ignore. But as she digs deeper, something sinister unfurls from its sleep, a dark power that binds one woman to the other across lines of blood and time. If Augusta can't resist its allure, everything she knows and loves, including her very life, could be lost forever. So I really loved the concept of the story. I loved the plot. I loved the setting. I thought the atmosphere was done really well. But what I think I liked the most is how this was a very cool way to do a kind of gothic story and pay tribute to a lot of gothic qualities and characteristics of like a 1900s, 1800s gothic tale without actually copying a gothic story. What I mean by that is the vast majority of the story is set in this historic house museum. And while the house doesn't actually take on a character as you would see in a traditional gothic sense, the ghost of a witch who haunts that house pretty much creates the atmosphere and the mystery and the intrigue of this story. It's told from two perspectives. From Margaret, who is our main character of the 1870s, and Augusta, who was our main character in the modern day times, and their experiences in the town of Tinmouth, primarily focused on the Tinmouth house. Again, I thought this was a really cool and unique way to tell a ghost story. It is definitely a very witchy forward story. And it does pay a lot of tribute to a lot of historical things. I love the reference to historical houses. I love all of the Salem history that is put forward in it. I will say one of the things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is a lot of the originally tried witches in Salem were not actually witches. It was a property scandal. And they do kind of just play up the fact that maybe they were witches. And I found it just done just a little distastefully for the victims of the Salem witch trials. But I did like that there are real witches in this. I did like the way that there was a ghost story told throughout it. And I'll just cut to the chase and say this was a 4-star read from me. But at times it did teeter on 3 stars. So while I really loved the concept of this story, I can't quite say I loved the characters. Primarily Augusta. So our main character of the 21st century, Augusta, has a lot of flaws. She is in a toxic, semi-abusive relationship. She has an eating disorder. There's a lot of trigger warnings about her character. However, the way the book handles those topics, I felt was just a little distasteful. Like they almost I'm not even sure how to say it, like, properly, but it kind of seems like Augusta's eating disorder is an okay thing for her. Like, it's not something that's ever resolved. And yes, I understand that it's a characteristic of her, but it's something that I feel like is just talked about so frequently and casually in the story, and no one's ever really like, hey, do you maybe need help with that? And I thought that was a little, like, I just thought it was a little strange. And then the way that they portray her toxic relationship with one of her boyfriends, I found also just kind of not fully fleshed out. Like, she goes from dating this person who is very, I guess, just comfortable in their life and maybe not the most over-the-top romantic, and then all of a sudden he kind of 180s into this very, like, abusive character. However, looking back on their relationship as the book goes on, she continues to just be plagued as if he was abusive for like 5 years instead of just towards the very, very end of the relationship. And it just felt very poorly written. And I felt like Hester Fox could have done a lot more with both of those topics and just fleshed out better ways to deal and address those issues. It felt kind of just forced and thrown together. And the eating disorder thing, I just felt like all of the characters were kind of like, yeah, you have an eating disorder, that's totally fine. Instead of being like, do you want help? Do you need help? Are you okay? And that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I will say Margaret was incredibly interesting. I loved her whole story. There's a big, big twist with Margaret that I didn't see coming, and I was really happy that that happened. And I didn't expect it. So when that happened, I was like, whoa, this just took a super, super dark turn. And it's hinted out throughout the book if you read closely enough, but I didn't, I guess, assume that this type of book would go in that direction. So I was very pleasantly surprised when it did. However, once this kind of twist unfolded, I felt like a lot of like the plot and a lot of the steadfastness and concern of certain characters kind of flew out the window. Like, the characters all started making really, really stupid decisions, and it felt very uncharacteristic to what had happened. So actually, that's a better way to say it. I would say that my biggest problem with this book is we have a lot of characters who have all of this background history to like develop who they are, and then when that history matters and decisions that they've made in the past come and situations similar to decisions and situations that these characters have been in the past come to light again, they make counter-intuitive decisions. They go against how they had acted previously in the story, and I thought it was very strange and jarring, and it just very much took me out of it. Leo's mother being one of the characters that I found this very, very strange. There's a scene where they're up in Maine visiting this character's mom, and she figures something out and then is just like, okay. And it was just like, I don't believe that anybody would act that way. I don't believe it. And it was just very, very strange. And overall, I thought the story was really cool. I thought the idea was very unique. I really like how the two stories were woven together. I liked the mystery in it. I liked the setting of the 1870s, like kind of Gothic manor versus the like Massachusetts Historical Home Museum Society archive moment of the present. I thought that was balanced so beautifully, but I just felt like the characters needed more development and needed to be worked on and edited more so that they fell in line with how they were set up to be. A lot of the setup on almost all of the characters, Augusta's mom, Leo's mom, Chris, all of them, I felt like towards the end of the novel made these really bizarre decisions that all of their stories leading up to when these decisions needed to be made contradicted themselves and who they were as people. And it just felt very thrown together to push the plot. And I felt like it didn't need to push the plot in that direction. I felt like the author, Hester Fox, could have found other ways to maneuver her characters and their actions and their situations to still get the same outcome towards the end. That being said, this is a very fun, spooky, surprisingly dark story. Very quick and easy to read that I really did enjoy. Again, I can't say I loved any of the characters because I found a lot of flaws in them and a lot of questionable decisions that they made really, really irritating. And I really wish Hester Fox had just fleshed out who her characters were a bit better instead of folding them to fit her mold for certain scenes. But beyond that, I did really, really enjoy this book. Again, all of the scenes from the 1870s I thought were really strong, really cool, and I loved how they led me to believe one thing and then I ended up being like manipulated by one of the characters into something else happening. And I really liked how characters in the book were experiencing the same thing that I as the reader was, and I thought that was very, very, very cool. And I think it was very beneficial that Margaret's story was told in first person, whereas Augusta's was third person. Normally I wouldn't like that kind of shift, but I felt that it really worked in how effective revealing certain twists were with this. So would I read anything by Hester Fox again? I absolutely would. She reminds me of less refined, darker Darcy Coates, and I really, really enjoyed that. I actually had a lot of fun with this book and would love to read some of her other works because they all seem to be very like occulty and witchy, and I love that Hester Fox has also worked in like historical museum society, so I really got that feel and that vibe, and I hope her other books have that as well. So yeah, 4-star read for A Lullaby for Witches. Very stoked that that came in my recent Unplugged box. Cannot wait to see other things that Hester Fox has, because I do think that she has some really cool and unique ideas, and she exhibits a lot of them in A Lullaby for Witches, and hopefully her writing and her character development will improve as her career goes on. Anyways, that is all that I have for you all today. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. Will not be posting this Saturday because I am on vacation. But if you do enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah.